CMorales, Bio 225, May 24, 2018, direct and negative stains. I have already labeled my slide as 1 direct M. The 1 stands for this being the first slide, direct is for direct stain, and the M is saying that it is for, that this slide is going to be designated for my mouth. And the circle is for, so I know where to put this, the sample from my mouth. I'm now going to use my sterile cotton and take a sample from inside my mouth. I got my cheek and my tooth, and I'm going to do circular motions in this inside of the circle. And I'm going to let this stay here until it is completely dry. My sample is now dry, and I'm going to begin to heat fixing my sample. And to do this, I have my tongs on the slide, and I'm going to be putting the center of my circle onto my lidded candle 5 times for no more than a few seconds. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm now going to sit it onto my towel and let it sit for 10 minutes to cool down. I'm now going to put a drop or 2 of my Crystal Violet Gram Stain number 1 into the center of my circle. Okay, just 1 drop was enough to cover the circle. I'm now going to carefully place it in my cup and allow it to dry for 60 seconds. It has now been 60 seconds, and now I'm going to rinse my dye until the water drops down clear. My slide is now dry, and I have stained it with my Crystal Violet Gram Stain number 1, and now it's ready to be observed with my microscope. And carefully grab it. And place it in between my clips. I'm going to adjust the stage as needed. Now I'm going to begin with my 4 magnification. It is slightly visible with the 4 magnification. There are some purple dots, and they do seem pretty visible, and they look a little bit less like bacteria. Some have more circular shapes, and others have a little bit of a longer shape. I'm now going to switch it over to the 10 magnification. With the 10 magnification, the objects are a little bit clearer. I'm able to see more depth in the sample. I'm able to see clearer of the edges. And again, it looks circular in shape, and some are longer in form. I'm going to move it to see how it looks with the 40 magnification. With 40 magnification, you are able to see slightly larger images of what was visible from the 10 magnification. More of my sample cells are visible. They're in more clusters. Some are circular and some are longer. And that's what you are able to see from the form. I have already labeled my slide to -M. The 2 standing for this, this is the second slide, the negative meaning that I'm going to use a negative stain, and M meaning that the sample is going to be from my mouth. I'm now going to use my Congo red and cut a tip of it. And I'm going to use 1 drop onto my slide. Now I'm going to get a sample of my cheek cells and gum. And I'm going to transfer it into my dye. And then I'm going to grab another slide and smear it on the slide. And now I'm going to let it completely air dry. I have already placed my slide in between my clips. I have already viewed the slide with the different magnifications. For me, I found that with the 10 magnification, I am able to more closely visibly see my slides, and to me it looks like little starbursts, and some of the starbursts have little lines connecting them, and that is visible from every side of my microscope that I can see from the slide. I'm now going to begin my differential stains. So for this, I have already labeled my slide E. coli, and I have a circle for my E. coli nutrient broth. So I'm going to begin by sterilizing the tip of my nutrient broth. Okay. Now I'm going to grab my inoculation loop for my alcohol and make sure that it is completely dry. Now I'm going to place it into my E. coli nutrient broth. And place it into the circle. Okay, I'm going to place it into my bleach, and then I'm going to sterilize the lip of my E. coli tube before I place the lid. I'm going to place the lid on it now. And now I'm going to wait for my E. coli slide to completely dry. I now have my S. cerevisiae slide. I have already labeled it, and again I have my circle for my nutrient broth with the S. cerevisiae. I'm going to grab my S. cerevisiae, and I'm going to sterilize the tip. Now I'm going to grab one of my inoculation loops making sure that it is completely dry. Now I'm going to go ahead and place it into my S. cerevisiae. And place it into the cerevisiae circle. I'm going to sterilize the loop once more before I put the lid on. And go ahead and close it. And now I'm going to wait for this one to dry. I'm now going to use my S epidermis slide. I have already labeled it with my circle in the middle for my nutrient broth with the S epidermis. I'm going to go ahead and sterilize the lid. I'm going to grab my inoculation loop that has been in my alcohol that is now completely dry and put it into my nutrient broth with my S epidermis and drop it into the circle. Now before I put the lid on, again I'm going to sterilize it once more. And now I'm going to put the lid on and allow it to dry. To heat set the 3 slides, starting with E. coli. Again, I'm going to go in with this 5 times. Next, I'm going to grab the cerevisiae slide. And again, I'm going to put it over the heat for five times. And for the last one, I'm going to grab the epidermis slide and heat it again 5 times. I'm not going to wait for all these slides to cool down. I have already put 1 drop of the gram stain number 1 onto the 3 of slides I have here, and they have been sitting on there for 60 seconds. So I'm going to begin by washing out the dye of the E. coli slide until the water appears clear. Okay, I'm going to dump out this. And now I'm going to grab my gram stain number 2 and place it in the center of the circle as well. 1 drop. I'm going to do another drop just so I can get completely center. Now I'm going to wait 60 seconds before I water it down. Now it is time to rinse off the ground stain number 2. I'm going to dump out the water. Okay, and now I'm going to grab my ground stain number 3 and place 1 drop of this and that one is going to be sitting on the slide for 30 seconds. Okay, now it is time to rinse off. And now for the last one, ground stain number 4 onto the center of my circle. And that one will also sit on the slide for 30 seconds. Okay, now I'm going to rinse it off. Now this slide is completely done with the dyeing process. I'm going to place it to the side. And now I'm going to grab my Ester Visii slide. Again, this one had the stain, ground stain number 1. So I'm going to now wash this off. And I'm going to place the ground stain number 2 in the center. And wait 60 seconds for this one to stay on the center of the circle. Okay, now I'm going to rinse it off. Okay, now I'm going to put the ground stain number 3, and this one is going to be on there for 30 seconds. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and rinse it. And then gram stain number 4. And then again, this one will wait for 30 seconds as well. Okay, it's ready to be rinsed off now. Okay, now this one is finished. I'm going to move on to the S epidermis slide now. Again, this one already had a gram stain number 1, so I'm going to just rinse it off now. I'm going to place this gram stain number 2 on the center and wait for 60 seconds. Okay, now it's time to rinse this gram stain off. Now I'm going to use gram stain number 3 for 30 seconds. Okay, now it's ready to rinse. And now lastly, the gram stain number 4. And this one again will be there for 30 seconds. Okay, now it's time to rinse this one off. And we are finished with the staining of the slides. And now we're going to wait for them to dry. So now I'm using my 10 magnification to see the slides of E. coli first. With this slide, everything is very clearly visible. There are huge chunks of purple and clear and almost white surroundings. It looks like bacteria that has been growing. Some are more circular in shape, others are a little bit longer. They're not all the same in how they look, but they are very clearly visible with the 10 magnification. So next, I'm going to grab the S. cerevisiae slide to view. I'm just adjusting my microscope. This one is a little not as visible. However, there are certain particles in there. They appear to be more string-like. They're not circular at all. They are in clumps together. And they are more towards the center of the slide, rather than the other ones seem to be more on the edge of the slide. I'm now going to observe the S. epidermis slide. Again, I'm going to be using my 10 magnification. Wow, with this one, there's a few circles. They're a little bit darker circles, and then on the edges there is a long string-like line on the whole edge, and it's very well defined. And it looks like a string of bacteria, and then there are a bunch of little clusters, like very small circles, that surround the whole entire slide. And that is what I have observed with my microscope.